everyone. For those of you that are, oh, there we go. Welcome, everyone. For those of you that are new to the group, to the Lunacy group, welcome. It's really nice to have you here with us and to have you be a part of the community. And for those of you that are new to me, my name is Elayni. I am an accredited Usui and Karuna Ki Reiki Master, a crystal and angelic frequency healer, meditation teacher, breathwork facilitator, evolutionary and esoteric astrologer, and intuitive soul coach. And I merge and blend neuroscience, hypnosis, soul psychology, Reiki, quantum energy healing, NLP, and a variety of other modalities to teach and support and empower and coach people who are in need of liberation and empowerment. And my work supports you to move past the expectations and the duties, and to remember that there is more to life than overgiving or stress or worry or burnout or external validation. I teach you how to awaken your true leadership qualities, empower yourself, believe in yourself, regardless of your accolades or achievements. And I also help you to heal yourself, find peace within, and most importantly, I help you to build a life with full trust, lead with soul, build with purpose, and create with freedom. And so that is me in a nutshell. If anybody wants to connect with me, you are welcome to follow me on my social media and or other platforms as well. So what we do here is we come together every 2 weeks and we share information around the new moon and the full moon, seeing as this is the Lunacy group. And so on the 31st of May, we have a Sagittarius full moon. The sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Sagittarius. And so I just quickly want to draw up the chart so that I can just have a look. All right, so the sun is going to be in Gemini close to Uranus, and then the moon is going to be in Sagittarius close to dark moon Lilith. We've also got Venus in Cancer, we've got Mercury in Gemini, we've got Mars in Taurus, and then we've got Saturn and Neptune in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius. And so this is where the planets are at this particular full moon. Then after the full moon, we also have I think it's on the 1st of June, we will have Mercury moving into Cancer out of Gemini. So Mercury, we know it rules Gemini. It's very strong in Gemini. It's very active in Gemini. So you may have been noticing with Mercury in Gemini that your mind has been very quick. It's been a lot faster than what it normally may have been. Your thoughts may have been somewhat erratic. Your communication could have been very quick and fast as well. You may have been feeling slightly mentally overstimulated. These are all very mercurial and Gemini kinds of energies when it comes to the mind. We've also got Uranus there, which is amplifying that energy. So Mercury moving into Cancer on the 1st will be a very different way that we approach the way that we think and speak and communicate. Then on the 9th of June, we have Venus will be conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. That's a really beautiful conjunction. And then on the 13th, we have Venus entering Leo. And then on the 15th, we will have the new moon in Gemini. And so what we're going to do is we're going to speak a little bit about the upcoming full moon, the different aspects, how it's affecting us and impacting us, and then we'll speak a little bit about Mercury in Cancer, Venus conjunct Jupiter, and then finally Venus moving into Leo. And so anything with regards to a full moon is always a dichotomy of energy. It's a polarity, it's a duality. The sun is the outward expression, the moon is the inward expression. And so these aspects of self are in opposition to each other. And when it's in Gemini, Gemini has the energy of gathering information. It's curious, it wants to speak, it wants to learn, it wants to ask questions, it wants to know the why. Sagittarius is the opposite sign of that. It's seeking more wisdom, more philosophy, more deeper truth and meaning and purpose and understanding. And so this particular full moon can bring through a lot of conflicting narratives with regards to just maybe perhaps a bit of mental noise, a lot of, sort of people imposing a lot of opinions, a lot of sort of information coming at you from all sorts of different sides. Um, and it can invite us to be more discerning. So we are being asked to reconnect more to our inner truth rather than the external distractions or opinions or information. And so there is this sort of opposition, or you can even call it a confrontation between the lower mind, right, Mercury, Gemini, and that higher sense of consciousness, Sagittarius. And so Gemini would represent the mind learning to integrate duality, while Sagittarius seeks more spiritual purpose and direction. And so the entire theme around this full moon is what is true. So you really want to give yourself time to ask yourself, what is true? Is this opinion mine? Is this thought mine? Is this emotion mine? Is it mine? Or am I just picking it up from someone else? Is it something that, I find to be true on a soul level? Is it true? Is it a truth with a capital T, or is it, limited human expression, what I've been conditioned into believing truth? And so this is really going to be a very helpful practice to incorporate in to your everyday awareness for the next maybe 2 weeks. I would say probably forever, but that's me. But I would say for the next 2 weeks, when you're feeling very mentally stimulated, you're not really clear, you're getting a lot of conflicting ideas and things, ask yourself, is it true? Remember that we can also psychologically hold duality with regards to our decisions, right? So, or our beliefs. So we can believe that we are allowed to be successful, but then we also believe that success is, acquired through hard work. And so these are two very different energies, they're two very different beliefs. They are actually in opposition to each other, but we can hold both beliefs. And so this is where Gemini and Sagittarius can support us in asking the question, okay, well, is my mind able to integrate both beliefs, and which one is true? Is it true that success actually requires hard work? Or is it true that I can be successful? And so you want to work on the beliefs that are perhaps limiting, perhaps keeping you from expressing a higher truth. So that's one theme that you can feel into for this upcoming full moon. Then the sun is in a sextile to Saturn, a conjunct Uranus. It's a wide conjunction, but still it's conjunct. And then also in a trine to Pluto. And so what does that mean? So the sun in a sextile to Saturn will offer our outward personality, our expression, our human consciousness, a sense of maturity and grounding and discipline. So Saturn will help us to take more responsibility for our beliefs, our healing, our choices, our aligned actions, and it will help us to act from a place of integrity rather than emotional reactivity or impulsivity. So Saturn acts as an initiator as well as a teacher, and so we can become embodied wisdom through structure and accountability. So this is where you need to take radical responsibility for your life, your choices, your decisions, your beliefs, and your systems. And then the sun being conjunct Uranus, this can bring through awakenings, right? We can have nervous system activations, meaning that your nervous system starts to expand, you're able to hold more polarity, more attention, more dichotomy. You can also feel like your nervous system is activating. You can have a lot more breakthroughs. They can be a need and a really deep desire to liberate yourself from things that are outdated, especially identities that you've been wearing for many years. For example, you can be connected to or identify as the tendency to people please, for example, and then you want to break free from that. And so the opportunity is that with the sun, these old identities, you can liberate yourself from these old constructs, these old stories, these old identities and masks that you've been wearing for a long time. You can also start to feel restless, emotionally charged. You can also be called to really like just do a 180 and change the direction of your life, because Uranus really is that absolutely catalytical, I'm going to set you free kind of energy. But that can feel very discombobulating. It can feel a bit charged because we're accustomed to doing things slowly, and also we have a tendency to overthink our actions and our choices, and so we're not accustomed to making impulsive decisions, or at least quick decisions that benefit us in the long run, right? So we need to, this is where that discernment piece starts to come in. um, and then with the sun trining Pluto, this is again, I feel like there's a lot of, Pluto represents transformation and death for rebirth. And so again, it is the identity, the sun, that sort of like, human consciousness, if you will, that is being asked to go through a little bit of a rebirth. And we can see that happening for many people at the moment. Many people are going through an identity crisis. They might be experiencing a lot of feeling like they're in this in between. They're losing a lot of the old life. They know that they're destined for something new, but it hasn't quite fully taken shape yet. And so they're somewhere sort of in this chrysalis, in this in between. And that can feel a bit uncomfortable for some people. Um, and so with the sun trining Pluto, what is very supportive of being able to ask this fundamental question, remember, what is true? What is true for me? What is true for myself? Is this mine? Is this, something that is even mine to carry forward with me? This Pluto in trine with the sun, it will actually help you to really reclaim a lot of that personal power that you may have lost. And it will help you to become more empowered in creating a new identity that feels more aligned with who you want to become versus who you have been all this time. The moon obviously will also be having aspects to Saturn and Uranus. So the moon is in a trine to Saturn. Now, Saturn is leaning in and asking us to become more emotionally mature, amidst all the chaos and the noise and the distraction and the information and, just the general sense of overwhelm. So we need to learn to regulate our emotions. We need to create healthier boundaries. We need to be able to process difficult truths with steadiness, rather than collapsing into the wound or into the difficulty or into the trauma. And so Saturn actually helps to give you that solid foundation that you can lean on. And so if you feel called to, you can, when you find yourself in that dissonance and you find yourself leaning out and becoming emotionally reactive, and rather than, having that emotional intelligence, you can just straighten your spine and really just kind of lock in that, that sort of solid foundation, that stabilizing pillar to help you hold yourself in your emotional experiences with more grace and more maturity, because that is definitely something that will be required at this time. The moon is also in opposition to Uranus. So again, sudden realizations, emotional breakthroughs, emotional breakdowns, nervous system overwhelm, emotional overwhelm. You may have, sudden emotional disruptions that may take place. So this is where Saturn is very helpful in this case, because it actually gives you that support and that structure so that you're not completely overwhelmed and just kind of going all over the place, right? You're not just electrocuting yourself and like having a complete system failure. And so we also have the moon trining Neptune. So this is quite beautiful, actually. We can have a lot of intuition come through, dreams, psychic sensitivity, creativity, compassion, spiritual connection, higher downloads even, if you will. But if you're not careful, Neptune can blur some of your emotional boundaries. So it's really important to understand that Neptune also dissolves the ego. And that doesn't feel good because the ego wants to be in control, right? So on a deeper level, the soul, Neptune is connected to our higher selves and our higher consciousness. And so we want to dissolve the old identities, and you have to allow yourself to really go with that flow, to become curious, Gemini, Sagittarius, to ask the questions. Is this true? Is this mine? Is this my reality? And then finally, the moon is also in a sextile to Pluto. So emotional healing can become deeply embodied if you allow yourself to be honest and vulnerable, and you allow yourself to be transformed. So it's not resisting, it's not pushing against, it's allowing the transformation to occur through surrendering to the process and surrendering to the practice. I actually had this conversation with a client yesterday where I received a message that said, true power comes through surrender. And it is when you surrender to the process. So if you think of a yogi, or if you think of, like somebody in a spiritual pursuit, or whatever it is, like it's not always easy. It takes time and devotion and practice, but they surrender over to the practice. And it is through the surrendering of it that actually they start to become healed and embodied and awakened and grow and expand and become masters in their field. And so there is real power in surrender. And it's not, I'm giving up. There is a distortion in the field with regards to surrender. People believe that surrendering waves a white flag around, saying that, oh, I give up, I give up, I give up fighting, I give up controlling, I give up. And it's not giving up. It's surrendering and giving yourself over to something bigger than your ego. So please understand that the difference. Okay, then we have Mercury squaring Neptune. Okay, so this may unfortunately create a bit of confusion, misinformation. It can lead to escapism. It can also create a bit of projection. It can also create mental fog, right? Communication can also become a little bit unclear, emotionally charged, and just a bit wobbly in general. However, if you allow yourself to slow down, think before you speak and act, and not overthink, please understand that this is not the time to overthink. This is not the time to go into the mental mind, but it is to reconnect to your intuition and to take a breath, and then to let these fear-driven narratives or overthinking or old stories collapse, so that something new can emerge and you can respond and communicate from a better place. So then you're not confused, you're clear, you are not projecting your stuff onto anyone else, and nobody else is projecting their stuff onto you. And if you find other people projecting their stuff onto you, you want to ask yourself why. Why is this happening? What is the message here? What is the lesson here? What is the initiation here? What am I learning from this situation? Where do I need to put up healthier boundaries? Where do I need to speak up more? Is there something here for me to receive? What am I not seeing? So there's a lot of ways that you can work with this. Then Venus is in a square to Saturn. Listen, I'm sorry. This is one of my least favorite aspects. I fucking hate this aspect. I'm not going to even beat around the bush with this. Venus in a square to Saturn is always yucky. Even if you take it into its higher octave, it's easier to work with, but it's still not really a very, like in general, it's not a very nice aspect, right? Because it does bring up rejection, loneliness, emotional withdrawal. People become cold, they become distant, they withhold love, they withhold affection. Issues around your self-worth come up. There's, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody that is an authority figure in your life. This can be your partner, this can be your brother, this can be your father, this can be your co-worker, your boss, people that are older than you as well. And it's just not a really yummy, nice feeling, because it does unfortunately bring up a lot of shit around what I just mentioned, right? But the good news, however, okay, is that it actually shows you where love has become transactional, right? And it shows you where we've been guarded or where we've been responding out of fear. And it's inviting us to step into a more mature version of love. So instead of seeking validation or worth or fullness or wholeness through attachment to places, things, people, constructs or concepts, it's showing you, okay, where am I operating from a guarded, fear-based, reactional, transactional way of responding to my partner, to love, to my values, all of these things. And so the initial lesson around this is like, okay, I don't have to be rejected because I can be whole within myself. I don't have to experience loneliness because I can experience oneness and wholeness within myself. I don't have to withdraw emotionally. I can open myself up and feel more. I don't have to live in scarcity. I can choose to live in abundance. I don't have to put myself down. I can build myself up. And it's teaching you to bring this home, to give this to yourself rather than, expecting the outside world to give it to you. So I'm not saying that it's easy or that it's nice, but I am saying that, if you really did apply the lesson to this can be very, very good for personal growth. We've also got a Mars square Pluto, so this is a little bit of an intense aspect, okay? There's power struggles, rage, suppression, jealousy, arguments, obsession, control issues, deep survival fears. These things can all come up to the surface. But if we are, again, conscious of this, we notice when it's happening as it's happening, it can become a catalyst for empowerment, shadow integration, as well as reclaiming suppressed life force energy that we may have been given away. And it will also help to transform the way that we take action, the way that we lead ourselves. All right. So there are always positive and less than positive qualities or less optimal qualities, but this is the duality and the polarity of this universe that we live in. So it's important to know both and, right? And again, please understand that it is not this is here and this is here. It's both and we can actually bring harmony and integrate all and hold everything at once. We can collapse it and build something new as well. Then we also have the North Node and the South Node squaring the Sun and the Moon. So again, the North and the South nodes, these are karmic points, these are destiny points. This is a collective turn. So we can or at least we can start to feel like we are being pulled perhaps between past patterns and future growth. Again, this like, I'm 1 foot in my old life, I'm 1 foot in my new life, but I'm not really quite sure what that is yet. And so there can be, endings and awakenings and, there can be a sense of our inner world needs to release something, our outer expression needs to let go of something. And so there is this sort of fated moment where we are being challenged to look at our subconscious programming, limiting beliefs, unconscious habits, patterns, desires, etc., and then also how we express them out into the world and how we live them so that we can recognize them, shift them, change them, and bring in a new way of being. We've also got the nodes of fate squaring Uranus, and so this is collective instability. Unfortunately, old times are definitely collapsing. You see this everywhere in the world. But this is, again, accelerated soul growth through disruption. So don't be afraid. Just remain calm, ground, take a breath, come back to yourself, come back to your heart. You'll be fine. We'll be fine. All right, then we've got Lilith opposite the sun. Okay, so Lilith in astrology, dark moon Lilith, she represents the suppressed feminine rage, our shadow desires, our rejection wounds, our authenticity issues, if you will. Okay, so with Lilith in opposition to the sun, this will expose where we have abandoned ourselves to gain acceptance. And so you are being asked to seek reclamation, to reclaim your authentic self and to release the wounds that you still carry around rejection and the rage that you may be feeling in the collective or in your personal experiences. And then Lilith is conjunct the moon. So, this can be rejection wounds around the mother, the female lineage, the maternal line. These things can come up, the suppression there. There can be hidden grief. There can be issues around sexuality, suppressed sexuality, ancestral feminine wounds, emotional truth. It can be, what else can it be? So yeah, Lilith conjunct the moon is also deeply connected to seeing ways in which your own mother has suppressed your authentic expression and creativity and curiosity. And so these things can start to come up, but again, it is there for you to utilize and to integrate and to heal. Then Lilith is in a trine to Saturn, and so all of this shadow work and this emotional kind of stuff that's going on, it helps us to integrate these difficult emotions without being consumed by them. So Saturn is actually in service to Lilith in this way, which is really good. We've got Chiron squaring Jupiter at this particular full moon. So, there can be some issues around our purpose, our belief system, spirituality, identity coming up, okay? But again, it's not to spiritually bypass things. It's to sit with it, to recognize it, to move through it. Chiron is also in a square to Pluto. So basically that's really, whenever they're around this issues or these pain or this confusion or this kind of sense of like feeling just completely lost around purpose or belief systems, identity, spiritual directions in life, etc., etc., etc. Chiron square Pluto will help you to actually show you where you still hold these, because everything is connected, right? And so the wounds that you still carry around your power or your survival or, the shame that you still have or the trauma. Listen, another thing that I'm going to invite people to do is please stop using words such as I have trauma. You don't have trauma, you have experiences. Good, bad, or ugly. There is no right or wrong. All right. So it's about becoming really conscious and conscientious of the words that you're using to create your reality. And so if you keep speaking through these things of, oh, I have so much trauma, like you're doing yourself a disservice. So please do not identify as your trauma. Just, I've had some good and bad experiences, and you don't have to necessarily justify it, but it's really important to take back your power, and one way that you can do that is through your words. So be mindful of that. There is a big opportunity also to break generational cycles, ancestral and inherited cycles. Anybody that is interested and or into family constellation therapy, parts therapy, those kinds of things, this would be a really good time to do that. And then the overall energy of this full moon. So I think that the overall energy is going to be sort of like a collective awakening around truth. People are going to be met with a lot of their shadow selves and their shadow integration that needs to take place. There's a lot of emotional liberation that needs to happen, especially for people that have been suppressing their emotions and been running away from their emotions and not really allowing themselves to feel their emotions. These things are going to come up, and it's not going to be something that you can control or you control the way that you used to in the past. And so you have to start to liberate yourself and feel your emotions, and then obviously you have to be in a position to also then integrate those emotions in a healthy way, so that you don't drown in them, but rather so that the emotion, energy and motion can pass through, so that it doesn't create stuckness and or sickness or illness in the body, right? And so, yeah, we may be feeling a little bit emotionally exposed, mentally overstimulated. We may even be spiritually activated. You can be having a lot of downloads, a lot of information, a lot of insights come through. But again, the overall idea is to help you move beyond like surface level information and conversations and beliefs, and rather reconnect with real, true, embodied wisdom. And then Pluto and Uranus are helping to accelerate this awakening process, while Saturn is actually helping us to ground in a more mature way of expressing. And so this full moon, again, I'm going to come back to this, is really asking us to be radically honest with ourselves. And so, is this true? Please use that. And if you are somebody that is into I can't say the word. My tongue is getting stuck in my mouth. But it's kinesiology, or basically just like, when you muscle test, and you're doing all of these different ways to communicate with the body and the unconscious and the subconscious and the body consciousness. So if you are somebody that does this, please use muscle testing at this time. This will also be very good for you to get out of your head and actually listen to what your body and your subconscious mind is trying to communicate with you. And so some tips and tricks for what you can do to work with this over the next couple of weeks, and particularly now until, a couple of days after the full moon. Slow down any mental overstimulation if you feel mentally overstimulated. If anybody's into numerology and numbers and kind of, like the whole, numerical frequency and signals, you can activate and calm your mind by repeating 77717171, and this will help you to connect in with your higher creative self and to be able to ground that in and to be able to move forward calm, grounded, and with ease. You also need to learn to regulate your nervous system. Ventral vagal practices, please Google that. Ventral vagal ways of regulating the nervous system at this time will be very supportive. Breathing into that lower diaphragm, grounding into the lower parts of the body at this time would also be very beneficial. Journal and question your inherited beliefs, the beliefs that you think you may have inherited, or beliefs that you may not necessarily be conscious that you have inherited. If you're somebody that likes to do muscle testing, you can ask and pose a question. Do the beliefs that I carry around money, are they mine, or have I inherited them from someone else? Is the relationship that I'm currently in, the patterns that I have in this relationship, how I'm showing up in this relationship, is, am I living my authentic expression, or am I just mirroring what I saw my father and mother do? Yes or no? And so you can test this and question and start to get clear on whether these beliefs are actually yours or not. Let your emotional truths come up, speak to them, journal them, and allow them to be released. Surrender to change rather than resisting it would be very good as well. And please be discerning with the amount of information that is coming at you. And also, just, take time to become clear in what you want, and then take action. Don't wait too long and don't overthink. All right, so that's this new moon, full moon, sorry. Okay, so then on the 1st, we've got Mercury moving into Cancer, and I just wanted to quickly highlight this because, again, when Mercury is in air, the mind is very quick, communication is very quick, the way that we assimilate, everything is quick, 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 quick. So when, Mercury moves into Cancer, into water, it's more of a slower, more emotional, more creative kind of mind, right? So this sort of high intellect, this natural curiosity and wanting to know and understand and ask and, information, and what's this and what's this and what's this and how does this work? The mind now starts to move through the emotional body. And so we become more intuitive, we become more sensitive. Our mind we can feel a lot more emotional and a lot more sensitive, because people that generally have Mercury in any water sign generally tend to be more emotional than most. And it's because information, words, listening, speaking, sharing and talking and understanding is done through the emotional body. And so your thoughts, your beliefs, your way of communicating has a direct impact on your emotions. And so if you are ruminating and thinking of all the horrible, terrible things, you always feel over emotional and you're always crying and you're kind of stuck in that loop. So just be mindful of that, right? So you can start to communicate also a little bit more from that emotion rather than, the logical aspect. And you might notice also that a lot of conversations are coming up specifically around Cancerian themes. So like, family, healing, belonging, safety, creative expressions and pursuits, especially writing. People that have strong Cancer placements are normally very drawn to writing, creative writing, like drawing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, when the mind goes into Cancer, we're being invited also not just to listen through the mind necessarily, but also a little bit through that heart, and so the nervous system as well. But being mindful that, if your mind is in this emotional state, then it might be hard for you to discern what is real and what is the logical thing to do, because again, you're thinking through your emotions. You're not thinking through a logical perspective. You're not operating from the prefrontal here. You're operating from the limbic, and so your choices are based and driven through your emotions. And so be mindful that it doesn't become oversaturated. So you need to learn to find the balance there. But you can also be very creative. Your ideas and your thoughts and these kinds of things can be used to create a lot and to put a lot of your mental faculties behind and your creative projects and things that you would like to create more of. And yeah. Okay, then Venus is going to be conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. That's really lovely. That's on the 9th of June. So yeah, in Venus and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and so it's really lovely, right? There's love and there's compassion and there's abundance and there's emotional generosity and there's connection, and there's this like just really deep, nurturing, sort of like loving, kind energy. And so if you want to expand upon your love of self, taking care of yourself, valuing yourself, bringing safety to yourself, love to yourself, nourishment to yourself, this would be a really good day to incorporate these practices. And also then to extend that outwards to your immediate family, your loved ones, and your community as well. And then also, if to help this day would also be really good to bring in anything that you would like to manifest. Remember, Venus also rules money and abundance, and at least prosperity. So you could use that day also to manifest, right? To manifest, because Jupiter will expand it, and anything that you want to create or call in through creative pursuits, you can do on that day, and it will bring you good rewards because your emotions will be attached to it as well. And what we manifest through our emotional body manifests a lot quicker than what we do through the mental body. So for anybody that wants to use that day, go ahead and do that. But just also be mindful of just taking a little bit of time to also secure your emotional body to protect yourself, because when you're very empathic already, then that energy becomes amplified, and so yeah, you just want to be careful of not to overextend yourself either and overgive too much. Okay, all right, then Venus in Leo, this will be right before the new moon. So Venus in Leo is again kind of expresses as passionate, loyal, creative, heart-centered, and so you may find yourself wanting more warmth, more playfulness, more recognition, more desire, like your desires may be coming a little bit more online. You may also be seeking more romance, more play, more fun, um, and you may also want to share your love with other people in that way. And so Venus in Leo helps us to love boldly. It also helps us to lead from the heart. And at its shadow expression, Venus in Leo may seek a lot of attention, external approval, external validation. Venus and Leo may also seek a lot of rah rah, like, you need to love me this way or else. So be careful of that. If you catch yourself, needing the attention, wanting to be the center of attention of the whole time, like needing to be louder and bolder and in your face the whole time, and like, needing all of this external validation to make yourself feel good, you might want to sit with that and go, where is that coming from? All right. So let's quickly just dive into the rising signs, and then we're going to end our session here today. So for Aries rising, so you can use the rising sign if you know what your birth chart is and you know what your rising sign is, use this. Otherwise, just follow your sun sign, all right? So for Aries, this is going to be happening for you. It's going to activate learning, truth, communication, higher perspectives. A lot of your old belief systems may be dissolving, a lot of new awareness may be emerging, and you are being asked to slow down a lot of that mental chatter and then to reconnect with your spirituality and your clarity before making any impulsive decisions. So please take time, meditate, quiet down, find ways to get out of your head and so that you can get very clear on what it is that you're actually wanting to do, because a lot of new information might be coming at you and you might want to know how you can utilize this and work with this. So the best way is to become clear, tap into that heart, and then lead from that place. Taurus rising for you, it's going to be around intimacy, trust, shared resources, finances, emotional vulnerability. So a lot of deep emotional transformation may be occurring for you, especially around control, attachments, and self-worth. So work on these things, notice them, and release them should they come up. Gemini rising, your relationship is going to be coming into focus, partners, friendships, emotional dynamics. There's a balance that you need to create between independence and emotional honesty. And Gemini, also for you, it is going to be, there's a time for you to radicalize your identity, and this is what's happening for you as well. So become curious and just notice when things come up so that you can start to make notes, note them down, and see what you want to do with it moving forward. Cancer rising for you, your nervous system, your health, your emotional habits, your daily routines are going to be kind of like under review, your everyday chores, tasks, responsibilities. And you're going to maybe perhaps start to really see how much your emotional overwhelm, or at least how much emotional overwhelm your body has been carrying. Um, and so you need to prioritize grounding and emotional safety and allowing your body to move in a way, supporting yourself through food and, sharing everyday chores, tasks, and responsibilities. Cancer risings have a tendency to want to take care of the world and save everyone, even Cancer suns. They think that they're accountable and responsible for everyone. They want to mother everyone. They want to take care of everyone, and everyone else's responsibilities and joy and happiness and everything else is so much more important than theirs. So Cancer risings, please, please, this is your moment, slow down, give your body a break, share equally. It's not your job to save the world or to mother the world, like please let everybody just raise themselves for a couple of weeks whilst you focus on your health and your well-being. Okay, Leo rising for you, creativity, romance, joy, expression, inner child, all of these areas are activated for you. You can really step into authentic self-expression and really start to notice, okay, well, where am I still wearing? Where am I still performing? Where am I the actor on the stage? What role am I playing today? And what am I where am I pretending to be happy when I'm not? Who am I pretending to be happy for? And so these kinds of questions, and because your job is like to stop being so serious and to actually utilize this time to really just allow yourself to be in your innocence, in your creativity, in your playfulness. So please utilize this time to just bring back some joy and some fun into your life. All right, Virgo, for you, it's going to be your focus will be around home, family, ancestry, emotional roots, inner security. And so you may be feeling drawn to visiting your family or going home or, anchoring back to your ancestral roots, going back to the country that you grew up in or the city that you grew up in or the home that you grew up in, or wanting to spend more time with your family and your loved ones. And so if you're experiencing all of these things, it's because you're being drawn to go home and to experience this. And so just trust that this is for you. Spend time with those that you can spend time with, and look at the deep ancestral roots that you still carry that you're wanting to release at this time. Any ancestral wounds, habits, inherited scarcity patterns, limitations, all these different things, you get to release this now. Libra, for you, it's about communication, mental overwhelm, truth telling, emotional expression. It's a time to speak up. It's a time to speak honestly. It's a time to release people pleasing. So it's about being curious and knowing how to balance that polarity. All right, so Libra, focus on speaking and speaking honestly and speaking calmly and speaking your truth and not, forming your words in a way that softens the truth to make other people feel better, but rather expressing your truth the way that you think it, see it, feel it, so that it can be expressed through your authentic channel, regardless of whether it's good or bad or ugly. All right? It's not about that. It's about you utilizing your strength and your power in saying what you need to say without dumbing it down or shaping it to make other people feel less impacted by your words or your communication, for example. All right. Scorpio, for you, it's going to be around finances, self-worth, values, emotional shifting. So Scorpio, release scarcity consciousness, rebuild from a place of deeper self-trust, from a deeper sense of truth, revisit your values, think about, what is it that I want to create for myself? As a Scorpio rising, start to look at, okay, are my values that I have around my finances and my sense of self-worth, are they all in alignment? Do they gel? Um, do they match, or are they perhaps imbalanced? Do I need to rethink my values around how I create finances and self, like security for myself? Do I need to look at maybe, I don't value myself as much as I once thought I did, or maybe I don't want to use the word overvalue, but perhaps there's a sense of arrogance there where I value myself so much more than others that I neglect other people by putting myself upon a pedestal and then beneath me. And so there's different ways that you can look at this and work with this, right? So but fundamentally it's working through the scarcity consciousness, the lack, the limitation, and the disempowering beliefs and values, and shifting into a deeper trust of self. All right. Sagittarius rising, for you, it's obviously happening in your axis. And so it's your personal direction, your personal way of expression. These are shifting for you, right? This outdated version of you, that is what is rapidly shifting. Your relationships, your purpose, the direction that you want to move through in life, all of these different things are shifting and changing. And one thing that I will say is that the more you hold on to something that is outdated and has run its course, the more painful it's going to become for you. So please surrender, trust, release, and let go. Capricorn rising, for you, it's about healing, rest, spiritual integration. It's a time to slow down. It's a time for reflection. It's a time for solitude. It's a time to, quiet down the noise and stop working so hard. Stop taking on everybody's responsibilities. Stop doing so much for everyone else. Stop feeling like, you have to be loyal to the point where, you lay your body on the road to be martyred because that's your sense of loyalty. Like, please just take take some time to really reflect, slow down, allow yourself to be in the quiet, to be in the no thing, allow yourself to see the secrets and the hidden aspects of yourself, of your psyche, so that you can start to integrate them, heal them, and build something new. All right. Aquarius rising, for you, it's all about long-term goals. So your focus will be on long-term goals, and calling in more soul-aligned connections, communities, friendships, and focusing on your future visions. So for you, Aquarius, this time is going to be around building something that is more aligned with your long-term vision and goal through your community, your friendships, and your external world. Less your intimate family, but more your outer community, finding those like-minded individuals and then building something from there. And then for Pisces, your focus will be more on your life direction, your visibility, your purpose, and you may be redirected. Your path may change, and you may be asked to align yourself with something new, something that will help you grow. And you might be even pondering upon, maybe I need to change my career, or maybe I need to change the way that I work, or maybe I need to be more visible online, or maybe I need to, maybe the direction that I thought my life was going in is taking a hard pivot and I got to go somewhere else. And so these are all ways that, this particular full moon and the next 2 weeks may be expressing for all of the different signs. And so that is everything that I wanted to share. Thank you all so much for being here with me. That was a lot of information as always, but I am very grateful and very honored that I get to be here with all of you and that I get to share my magic. Thank you, Kalena, as always, for having me and for hosting this space. And thank you to all of you beautiful souls for liking and subscribing and commenting and giving us hearts and little feedbacks. And please do feel free, if you have any comments, to drop that again, as always, into the replay or onto the chat or into the Facebook group or wherever you see it, wherever you are live watching this or this recording. Please do yourself a favor, ask the questions. I will respond. And as always, you don't have to go through this alone. You are deeply loved. You chose to be here at this time. You've got this. We've got this. We've got each other. We're not alone. And yeah, everything is going to be okay. And if you want a reading, you can book a reading with me. But I also trust you and know you, and I know that you are capable of supporting and helping yourself. All right. Thank you so much.